Let's do this.
Hello,
Did you?
Lorraine. We're
Oh my
recording.
goodness. I'm so excited to have Helen Polise. I had to ask Helen how to pronounce her name because I always say Helen Polise. Oh, goodness. So, the way that I met Helen, and I think this is super cool, is I was struggling with reels. I make a living online full time as a social media content creator. And so finally, I decided to, bite the bullet and try Reels. And then somebody that I had interviewed for Viva 50 for my publication, she led me to you. Her name is Strong Maria Strong.
I know
And
who that is. That's so funny.
so she turned me on to you, and she's like, follow this lady. She has the best tutorials on
Here I
TikTok.
am.
So I followed you on TikTok and I'm like, oh my goodness. And she makes it look so easy and she explains it so well. And then I went and stalked you on Instagram. And I went down this rabbit hole of finding out about you. And, so there we
Here
are. And
I
now
am. This is
I
so
feel like we're
exciting.
friends, even though we've never seen each other in person yet. And I
I
hope
know. The same.
we
I feel like
will.
we've done this weekly already because it feels so normal.
Right? It's like, it's like weekly that we've never done with Helen Polisi and
This
Lorraine.
is so awesome.
I like that we're both similar in age. I'm 59 and you're 61. We're both married. My husband is in all, well, not in all, but in a lot of my videos. I thought you were a single mom
That's
because
right.
your husband is never online, and you just told me. Well, I found out that you do have a husband, and which is fine both ways. But um,
I
so
have a husband for 35
for
years.
35
Yes.
years,
And he
goodness,
is like, you know what? You do you, but I don't want to be online. And I said, okay, that's fine with me. So that was our deal from the start. And I have no issue with it. It's actually
right, right.
interesting because he's like the mysterious back, behind the scenes husband.
Right, right, right. And again, I thought you were a single mom and I was going to reach out to you saying, do you need any help? And then I'm like, oh no, there's a husband at the hospital. And there was a husband at the hospital because
Mm,
Helen is battling cancer at the same time that she is taking care also of her kid with autism, who also has accidents once in a while. And
yes.
Helen and I
Just a
think
lot
we
going
share
on.
the same sense of humor, which
That's
could
for
be
sure.
dark sometimes.
You got to laugh at the enemy. You know what I'm saying? That's what I always say.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise
So
it'll
I
take.
I put you as an example of a woman who, I don't have a lot of patience with complainers, and you're definitely not a complainer. Like you're managing cancer and your business and being a mom and a wife, and on top of that, you launched a new business. So just tell us a little about all
Yes.
that.
Let's go for it.
Wherever you want to go.
All right, I'm going to give you a quick, and this will be in my fast talking way, but you'll follow. So, as you know, I've been a TV commercial director for years. I've been in the business of production for like over 30 years, 35 plus years, and I love it. And it's been really great for me. I went from producing to directing. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, all the work stopped. Obviously, we couldn't do anything in person. And I was, bored in the house bored kind of thing, as the TikTok says. And I was like, oh, I should start making some videos in my, videos in my kitchen. So I did baking videos, and then I got on TikTok and I decided to do dancing videos, and I just built a little following, and I just kind of got addicted to the whole rush of when something does well, and it just really got me excited. And then I would look forward to being creative. And so it was feeding my creativity that I was missing from production. The other thing I figured out is that I'm really good at it. When I was learning how to do the videos, I'm like, I know how to edit. So I just have to figure out how to do it in the phone in this app. So it was easy for me to transfer the skills because I understand how to edit before I had to learn. I didn't have to learn how to edit. I just had to learn what buttons to push in TikTok. So it was very easy for me to make some successful TikToks that went viral, grew a following. And then people would ask me, oh, how did you do that video? Because I'd be making a baking thing in my kitchen and I'd make the eggs magically turn into cracked eggs and whatnot. And they were like, how'd you do that transition? So I started making tutorials, and that's when my account really exploded. And I decided to listen to my followers, and they were calling me the TikTok teacher. And I was like, I'm going to be the TikTok teacher. So I changed my username to the TikTok teacher at the top. And I really I leaned into that, and I learned from my followers. And that's a really good piece of advice if you are growing on a platform, is to listen to the people who love you. because they will explain to you what you are doing for them. And that
Mm-hmm.
teaches you how to market yourself. So that's what happened to me. And then I had this wonderful opportunity come from TikTok, where a venture capital company approached me first with the idea of me helping them. And then it turned out that they took me on as an entrepreneur in residence. And I built a business with them, which is really to teach and create a teaching platform for older adults to learn how to do social media. And we think that it'd be just nice to see more older adults being successful in social media and just putting themselves out there. So when I saw you and we connected, I was like, this woman is my kind of people. I was so excited. So I did the same. I did a little stalking of you, and I'm like, she does all these brand deals and she's got her whole business going. So it's really exciting to really connect with you and understand what you're about. So it's serendipitous. I love that
It
I love that
is.
we're here right now.
It is. And it's interesting because when I launched Viva 50, Viva50.com, which initially was the blog and all the associated social media handles, because I didn't want to be the face of it. I wanted it to be a magazine so that if I ever wanted to sell it, I didn't necessarily have to, So then what happened is that Instagram kind of took off. And then I was like, now this is where it's coming. They want me and they want my lifestyle. And to the point of what you were saying, I thought I was speaking to women our age. It turns out that my following is younger because, yeah, and I think you're going to say the same thing, maybe.
Yes,
What do
because
you
I'm
think?
laughing. I get comments all
Yeah.
the time. How is my mom teaching me TikTok? How is my gram?
Yeah.
I don't want them to call me Gram because I'm not a grandma yet, but they do call me Gram. But
Yeah.
it's funny because that has been so enlightening to say that it's not just older people because they see me and they relate, because a lot of people are relating to me. They're like, I love seeing an older person, teaching me TikTok. But this other part of it, which is these young people like the way I'm explaining it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
breaking it down in a slower pace that they can understand. And I'm making this difficult transitions accessible. So I'm making it easy for them to get it. And I just find that a real thrill, that just the people that I've met and that my following is not necessarily old. So
But I think it's because people, and I say this a lot on my social media, is that people interact with energy. And
yes,
you have, my friend, have great
do
energy.
have energy, man. I got some
And you
energy.
have such great energy that again, I try to, like, I'm this person who has to put blinders on so I can do my own stuff. Instead of talking about doing things, I actually do them,
Correct.
and course correct and all this. But I see people complaining about, the algorithm is down, the algorithm is up. In the meantime, I'm just scrambling trying to figure it out. I'm not complaining, and
Right.
that's why I talk about you so much, because I'm like, man, she got cancer and she made a real app about it, and it was funny,
It
and
was
then
funny.
it was very funny. It was like, oh my god, everything's going great, get a
And
venture
then poof,
capitalist,
I'm on
and
the
then
floor, I'm
boom,
dead.
you're on the floor dead and gets cancer. And of course I know that behind the scenes you're probably not always joyful and laughing. You've shared your crying because
Yeah, I
of
even do share
chemo,
my,
when of course, but that's life.
it is life.
I think that's where you are so inspiring, because you talk about the good and the bad, and you're not saying, "Oh, I don't have problems." You have more
No, I want to
problems
make
than a
sure
lot of
people
people I
know.
know.
I
You
want
know?
people to know that it is not always perfect, because I think that what happens when, you see a celebrity and they're going to go through breast cancer, they curate what you're going to see. You're
Yeah.
not seeing what's really happening. And when I was, I was on the top of the world, venture company,
Yes.
I'm funded, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm still directing commercials. The production business came back strong. I had one of the best years in my production business, while I had cancer. So all this
Yeah.
is happening. And then when I did get hit with cancer, I was like, well, I don't know, this is going to be part of my life now. It's not going to be the only thing in my life. So I
Right.
considered it like, even though I was going to go down this path, I didn't want to be on cancer talk. I didn't want to be just talking. So I was like, you're going to see some things that are happening. And then you're
Yeah.
also going to see when I'm teaching a tutorial and I'm taking off my wig because I'm bald now and I got a good transition
Mm-hmm.
going. So
Mm-hmm.
I really took it to heart that I wanted to show people truthfully what it
Yeah.
was and share, like, I never knew anybody that went through chemo, so I don't know. Are you there every day? Do you get infused? Like, how long does it take? Just stupid stuff like that. So I was like,
It's
let
not
me just
stupid.
explain what it
Trust
is.
me.
And it was
Yeah.
really kind of cool. The response has been beautiful. And I feel like I have this nice community that's pulling for me. And that's also touching, that I have strangers on the internet that care about me. And I don't even consider them strangers anymore. Every single person is a real person and they really care. And I love that. That's just what I've discovered and just found so much joy from. So I'm here for it, but I'm not going to only show one side. I'm going to show the truth.
And I
That's
love, I honestly love that about you. And I feel that we have many similarities in that sense because I'm always also an open book.
yeah.
And I do share my struggles as a parent, as a person. I always feel that my story ends where someone else's begins. So maybe I won't share the details of the struggle if it's parenting, but like,
Right,
but I
because it's
will,
someone else's life that
yeah,
you're
but I am
respect. Right.
sharing how it affects the whole family,
Absolutely.
or how my husband and I, who do photo shoots together, have had to do them. We weren't talking to each other. How about that? That's horrible. And I'm like, nah, here we are for this product. And then I'm crying, and then okay, next shot. And I've done that, but I explain it as well. One of the things that you just mentioned that I feel that a lot of older people our age, say is that like Instagram is not Instagram, but social media and being online like is not real. And I have to say, and I want to know what you think, is that I have made the closest and most special relationships
Oh,
online.
so true. So true. And I have a friend now in Australia that I'm so close with.
Hmm.
And I just think that would have never happened if it weren't for social media. And the people
Exactly.
that really care about me, I talk about this and I don't like to throw a relative under the bus, but I have a relative that was actually kind of my troll that
Oh
was,
gosh.
oh, too much information, get a support group. And I'm thinking, you know what? No, I'm not getting a support group. I'm doing this to help other people. Maybe I am the support group,
Right,
And I just
right.
feel like the way I lived it out, and I decided to put my camera in front of me because that's what I was doing before. So if I all of a sudden stopped recording myself, I was sharing day in the life in New York City, and then I'd do a tutorial, and then I'd share, I'm in Central Park dancing with someone. So what am I all of a sudden not going to share what's happening? No, I was going to the hospital. Well, today I was at the emergency room, and this is what happened. So I was kind of just documenting it. And then when I put it out there, I thought, someone else is going to be able to relate to this and
Yes,
know that, what, you can laugh through it. Like I was, I was getting my eyes looked at and I was like,
I
yeah,
know.
guess what? Fun fact, and I'm just like, and then I'm like crying one day and I didn't mean to be crying into the camera, but I'd be talking about something and then I got emotional. And I know there's people that say, oh, if you're crying and you're on recording yourself, you're not being real. No, hell no. I was literally
No,
trying to
yeah,
get through an
yeah.
explanation of something. And next thing you know, I'm crying, but I wanted people to know what it really felt like. And it's not, and it is scary, but also sometimes I laugh in the face of fear. It's just the
Yeah, oh
right
my
way for
God.
me.
Yeah. I think it helps. It does. Not everybody has that coping mechanism though.
Right.
My dad almost died of cancer last year, different kind of cancer, but it was not because of the cancer, it was because of his heart, and he didn't know if he was going to withstand the surgery. And so practically said goodbye.
Right.
But I remember once saying it was his birthday, and I said, Daddy, what do you want for your birthday? He's like, a shroud, which is what well, you know
I
what
know.
it is. Because Phil was like, what's a shroud? I'm like, what, they put you in the
Oh
coffin
my
with?
God.
But that was my dad, and I was like, so this was our way of coping with it. It
Oh,
was dark, dark humor that nobody else would get, but
right.
it helped us. It helped us so much, and it actually still does. And for older people, this is something that as a 59-year-old woman, 60 this year, like I'm learning transitions from you. And the other day I just did one, which I haven't posted yet, but I didn't even follow a tutorial. It was common sense. Now that I know more about it, then suddenly I'm like, I guess this is how they do it. And I said to Phil, just throw the jacket at me. I'll just be like this. And then next time you put I'm wearing the jacket.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
did it. I'm like, it worked.
It
It
works.
worked. And it was just me thinking, okay, I've done all these other things and this is how we do it. This is probably how you do this one. And it worked. And it worked so well. I'm so impressed. I will tag you when
I'm
I post
so
it
excited to know
because
this.
I also did the movement of like as if I was hit by the
You popped
jacket, and
into it.
nobody told me to do it, but I thought, oh wow, and I'm 15, and so all these people, I get a little not upset, but when I hear somebody who's in their 40s or early 50s, or saying, oh, I'm too old, I can do social media, and like, do you think it's just like um being lazy in the brain, like I just don't want to learn something new, or
I
what?
think some people just want to get older. And I just
Ah,
think
ha, ha.
choice because it's true. I just think if you're interested in things, I'm always interested in the newest music. And other people like they just want to listen to the oldies. No, because
Yeah,
some new music is pretty cool and interesting. Like I've always been that person that's like curious about the next thing and what's the next newest thing. And I think it's curiosity, which is at the base of it. I think that a lot of people just aren't curious and they're stuck in their ways and they don't want to learn. And my thing is, I've always been hungry for like, what's the newest thing? And how did you do that? And how do you learn how to do that? And that's what I feel when I'm teaching, which is, I'm so glad you brought this transition thing up, because when I teach the transitions, I always explain the why. Like, you're doing this because if you don't do the whole motion, it's not going to match exactly. And so I always say, I like to teach you how to fish, not just to catch one fish. I don't want you to know how to do one transition. I want you to understand it so that you can relate it to the next thing. And I think just what you said, possibly from osmosis of watching my tutorials, that maybe picked up this idea of like, oh yeah, it has to be continuous action. I want to hope and believe, but I feel like I hopefully have done that for other people, where I give them the tools to figure it out themselves. And it's not like I have to hand hold you through every single one.
Yeah, because it's not about, I was so proud of myself because it was not like I didn't have to follow a tutorial. I thought, well, if it doesn't come out fine, I'll just do it again or find a tutorial. But and then what I do also is that sometimes I look at somebody's video that I like and I slow it down. And then you can see it. Like, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not really a purse. They just photoshopped it in. And okay, so now it's moving there. And so you're like, wow, well, I could do that, you know, so that's interesting. But you, so how, the way you started Hello Socialize, that is the place where people can go and learn from you much better than with the mothership, right?
So here's what I did with that. My thinking was, as the mothership on TikTok, I'm teaching TikTok. It's no one's going to want to go there to learn Instagram or Facebook or even LinkedIn and, you know, other, and just in general, one of my tutorials upcoming is going to be how to post a video on YouTube, because I think people should understand that you can actually use YouTube with the same content. So I've thought I need a place where I can teach it all, but I also thought the same kind of concept as you with Viva 50. I'm like, let me create this platform that exists separate from the mothership. So I am a part of this platform. Right now, I am the main teacher on the platform. Potentially in 5 years down the road, maybe I'll have a LinkedIn expert that I bring in, because that's not my area of expertise, you know? So what I want to do is have the potential for creating a bigger teaching platform. But right now I am making the roots of it. And the roots of it are based in caring, kindness, community, making sure that everybody's learning and that we're celebrating. There's a lot of C's there: caring, community, collaboration, and celebration, like celebrating someone when they're successful at doing something. So we're going to have like a creator of the month thing. And then I'm going to have a challenge. Every one of these words begins with a C.
That's so great. I didn't count them. I'm terrible at math, so
there's a lot. I just said a lot of keywords.
So you can say the XYZ number of C's that you need.
It's crazy, but it's true, because that's what I want to create. I want to create this thing where we're all lifting each other up. So it's not people putting each other down to get views.
Right.
We're like celebrating, you know, and I just think that's what's going to make it beautiful. So I want to create this community, and it's also a nice place that's a little confusing for me to have built it in Mothership, because Mothership's got a production entity, and that's confusing. Now I'm doing TV commercials over there, and then all of a sudden I'm a teaching platform over here. So I decided, if I create this platform just to be a teaching platform, I can build it and send people there. Like, if you want more of my workshops, here's where they're all posted on my website. And it's not confusing that now a person who's looking for me to direct a commercial is all lost in my social media lessons. So there is a little bit of there had to be a separation for me branding wise, because I do have these two businesses, and one is TV production full up, and the other one is social media teaching.
That is absolutely fabulous. I just, so excited. It's interesting because sometimes, like when I get interviewed, people ask me about retirement and stuff like that, and I'm like, wait, what?
Are you kidding me? Why would I do that? This is my fun thing.
Exactly. Like my grandfather and my father, my grandfather passed away, but he was a writer and a painter. I didn't love his paintings, but he loved it. He loved painting. He loved creating. My father-in-law died writing. I mean, not actually, but writing, but you know, until the day he died. And so I think that's me too. And I assume that's you as well.
Yeah.
Because why would you stop doing something that you enjoy so much? So people can go to Hello Socialize, is it .com? I forgot, to sign up and pay how much?
No payment. It's free.
Nothing.
Nothing,
Nobody
not
has to pay anything, which I thought was absolutely fabulous.
it's a free platform. My goal is to make the content creation accessible to every person. So if you're in the Midwest and you're struggling and you can't, you're just trying to make ends meet, you don't have to pay to learn social media. That's not what it's about. I have brands and companies that come to me and they want consulting advice. How can I teach my social media team? So businesses hire me for that. So I have a paying job for my TV commercials when I do directing, and I have paying opportunities when people want advice for their businesses. But so the platform itself, so this funds the platform. The platform itself can be free to, to everybody, Joe, Sally, whoever wants to learn social media, young and old, and not have to pay for it. A lot. And I always like to say, a lot of the things I teach can be Googled, obviously, but someone else is going to teach you on Google. You're going to find it on YouTube, and then there's going to be somebody going 80 miles an hour showing it to you. I'm teaching it to you with my nice little stylus in a nice organized way visually so that you can learn. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just doing it in my own style. So someone's not going to want to pay for that because they can say to themselves, well, I'll go to YouTube and I'll figure it out. So why should I charge for it? That's my attitude.
But
My
even
attitude
if
is,
you even if you could, I am kind of like you, that I have a really hard time charging people for something. Like even a friend, she was like, "Oh, my husband needs help with his social media." I said, "That's not my business model."
right,
But if I'll introduce it to people who do it,
right.
run your social media. But if otherwise I'll come over for a few hours and you buy me lunch. I'm terrible at
Right.
that. I cannot charge people directly.
Right.
So I'd rather work with brands and have bigger partnerships that align with my values, and then I can give everything for free to the
Absolutely.
person. And
Absolutely.
that's just me. That is, and I know it's not for everybody. I have thought of,
Making a
a lot of
package or
people,
something.
well, yeah,
People
something,
do that.
because a lot of people come and say, not necessarily how do we, you know, do TikToks, because I learned from other people, but how do you make a living? Because
Right.
I do say
You
it
built
that
a
I
business
do,
from
and not only that, but we launched in 2014. In the first year, it was profitable. I didn't even believe it was going to happen. And since then, it's only gotten better. So this is our bread and butter, and this is how we make a living. So people, sometimes they think it's only my Instagram, or it's only, no, we have Instagram and Facebook and the blog and the ads and my presence and what I do for, exercise videos and stuff like that. What I mean is that it's a business, but not everybody gets it. And then when people realize, oh, you make a living, this is what you do, because somebody said, "What do you do for a living?" I'm like, "You're looking at it." That's it.
I
My
love that.
pictures, my what? That's it. And they're like, "But how?" So that is, for older people, and I take courses because I do believe in paying for information. Like I do pay,
And
and
that's
if
higher end information though. That's like a whole
right,
different.
right. But if I had to pay for your content, I personally would, because I think there's, yeah, no, because there is time and effort that goes into
Right.
curating, into teaching, because you think that it's very accessible, but all that work that you've done curating and some things that you already knew, you already know how to edit, you just have to find out how to do it in these new
Yes.
platforms and all this. But there's a lot, like I sometimes think, oh, I don't know that much, and I think everybody knows what I know
And then you
about.
realize,
And then
no,
I'm like, wait a minute,
it's
no, I did this. I've been making this profitable. I do know something. You
yeah.
know?
It's so true.
So,
And I think we sometimes undervalue our years of experience
eso.
as
Mm-hmm.
part of what we should be earning in general. Sometimes I think people do cut
Exactly.
themselves short. My long-term goal, I'm looking more for my long-term goal than the short-term goal when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
social. And my thinking is, if I can grow an audience there and I have the attention of lots of people who want to learn, ultimately I will be attractive to brands. The business itself will be attractive to brands who want to reach this
Yes,
audience.
yes,
And
they
that's
will.
a potential way, because I get approached just like, as you would imagine, because you are in the business, but with the 735,000 TikTok followers, I get approached by brands now on a
Mm-hmm,
regular
mm-hmm,
basis on,
mm-hmm.
will you make TikToks and what's your rate? And I hesitated to like, do I go down that path and do I travel down the influencer road? But since I had this other
Right,
idea
right.
in mind of like this creating a platform that helps people, I feel like I can't do both effectively. I would have to choose one or the other. And my
Yeah,
expertise is teaching. And if
yeah.
I want to keep the focus there, but this is what I will say to that though. If a clothing brand came to me Aritzia, hello, and said, hi, you wear a lot of our clothes and you get, millions of views on your transitional content. Why don't we, do a collab with you? I would take that in a minute because that makes sense. But I'm not going to now suddenly become a makeup tutorialist and share what
Yeah.
not my
See,
content.
I don't do makeup a lot either. So I think
It would
it's
have
just
to
more
fit with
about
my
being
brand.
right. It has to be in a, like, I won't do booze because if it were beer, I drink beer, but I don't drink hard
Right.
liquor. So it would be ridiculous. I
Wouldn't
don't
be
do
a fit.
weight loss because I had an eating disorder. Against my morals.
Right, right,
But
right.
maybe for somebody else it works because they
Right.
lost weight a certain way, or so I think
Yeah.
it's kind of
And I
like
think it
that.
really is, it's a case by case basis. So, but because I want to create this teaching and I want to be the teacher, I want to be the best teacher, the best social media teacher. Like
You
my goals are,
are you're
I just
so good.
want, and I love it so much. So I want to go with what I love doing. And then if deals come to me and they're the right ones, I would look at them, but I would have to do that. As you know, it's a full-time
Hmm.
job to
Hmm.
do influencer work. And then I'd be
It
like,
is.
I got to shoot for the brands. Meanwhile, I want to
Yeah.
shoot lessons. So I really
Yeah.
want to be thoughtful and mindful on whatever brand partnerships I take on. But if I can take on brand partnerships with the platform itself, that's a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
other game.
Yeah.
I love the word
I
love.
want to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Made up a word.
Uh, um, about balance, I'm gonna guess you don't have a lot of balance just because that's kind of how some of us roll, right? But I get asked a lot, like, how do you balance all of that? Like, do you feel you have balance, or do you just enjoy everything that you do? I mean, I know, and I know for
Yes.
myself that juggling parenting and this and that's not always fun, but
It is oftentimes a struggle. And this is where I
mhm.
will say I lean on my behind the scenes husband who does, when my son, we didn't talk about this, you mentioned it, but we didn't talk
Yeah.
about it. But during my cancer, and when I got diagnosed with lymphoma back in June and the ball started rolling with my chemo, my son actually jumped off a high diving board and fractured his spine, and he's autistic. So the healing and the process was extremely time consuming. And it ended up putting my thing in the second seat. And so his
Hmm.
was like the first seat. I don't want him to be handicapped and in a wheelchair. So we had to spend a lot of time figuring that out. And I will say my husband steps up when it comes to this stuff. And he worked with him, physical therapy, was at the hospital every day when I was doing my chemo things and couldn't be there. Plus I had shoots that I was working on
Right.
and we talked about that. And my husband even supported that. He said, you don't want to quit you don't want to quit what you're doing, because then at the end of this, you don't want to
Yeah.
look back and say, I gave everything up because I had cancer. You want to keep going. So he's fully supported me continuing to work. But because of that, it put a lot more on him. So he had to be he had to be the backup. He was at the hospital when I was doing a shoot and then going for
Hmm.
chemo and a day later.
Right.
And
Right.
so finding balance is having the right partner, and B, I look at it, I worry about today. I don't really plan
Hmm.
far into the future. My
Yeah.
daughter's the planner for both of us, but I'm not the planner. So I just look at, all right, today, how am I balancing this day? And I don't get
Hmm.
overwhelmed thinking about what's going to happen next week and how am I going to figure that out? Because I know it will all figure itself out one day at a time. And I'm a big day at a time person. And to a fault, probably. I should
Yeah.
look at it a
You know
little bit.
what's funny? That's interesting that you say that because Phil, my husband, he sometimes says, "Well, how are you going to do this?" And it's an issue like the taxes
I've
or
heard this.
something that I have to do, right? And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to even think about it right now because then I would be paralyzed by
Yes.
fear or whatever. And if I have to do something else today, I'm just going to put it." He's like, "But you're putting your head in the sand." I'm like, "No, I am compartmentalizing it so I can
Yes.
function." And then,
Yes. It's not putting your head in the sand.
no, because I know I have to deal with it. I
Yeah.
will. It's on my list. But if I can't deal with it this week or today, why am I
Why
going
am I going to
to?
worry about it? Oh
Because
my,
it's going to paralyze me, and then I will not be creative, and then I won't be able to do anything. I'll just be consumed with, oh my goodness, I have to, like so. Um,
I
yeah.
wonder. So this is interesting because, and if my mom ever hears this, I mean, I don't mind mentioning it, but she's the opposite. She's a worrier. And so
Oh yeah.
potentially I was raised by a person who was always worrying about what's going to be next, or,
Yeah,
oh,
my
be
dad.
careful. Or,
That's my
and
dad.
and maybe because of that, I'm not a worrier. I'm a product of a worrier who goes the
Yeah,
opposite
yeah.
way. But even with my kids, when they're getting on a bus or a plane or a train, it's not like I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I'm worrying this and worrying.
Right,
I
right.
don't really think about it. They are living their life, and I'm trusting that they're going to make good decisions. And
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a survival thing, and I am a worrier a little bit, but that's why I don't kind of allow myself to go there,
uh,
because if I do,
you
then
really
I'm like,
will.
okay, that's it.
Right.
Then I'm not gonna recover from that, and then I can't be, because I mean, I always have this thing. Another thing with being online and all that is that people think that you have to be perfect. Yet somebody
Mm,
said the other day, and I'm feeling so sad because she was like, "Oh, my house is not perfect. I don't have an Instagrammable house." I've shown my bathroom that sucks for Instagram, but I've also shown how I make it work for pretty
right.
pictures. Like I do it in the bedroom, and I have this white thing, and it doesn't matter. Like if you're creative, you
Yeah.
could live in a
You'll
hole
find
in
a
the
way.
wall and just do anything. You don't have
I
to have the
know.
perfect house. And not only that, sometimes people value the authenticity. Like when you're like, look at
Sure.
my unmade bed, which I was just saying something from this morning, and I'm like, the bed is unmade behind me. But then I have this curated feed of very beautiful pictures. But if anybody is following my behind the scenes,
Yes.
they're gonna
And
see the
that's what
reality
this
of my
that's the
life. Yeah.
that's the story part of. That's why the story is such
Yeah.
an important part of you as an influencer, your story feed is equally as important as your curated feed,
Yes.
because it
Yeah.
allows your viewers and your followers and your friends into what's happening in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
That's what I actually,
Yeah.
and when TikTok came up with the story, it seemed a little odd to me because I was like, well, TikTok already is almost like a story. However, if you really look, like my tutorials and things are curated, and then I would throw things on the story like, oh yeah, I'm walking for my scans now. I don't need to make a post about that. That's
Right.
so
Right.
I
Or
still
you could,
utilize
but
I still utilize the stories for little things on TikTok, but I think on Instagram they're key. That whole story gets you like more personal with your
and
followers. And I love
I
that.
have done what you were saying, that I have a bunch of family blocked from stories.
I taught
Extended
you that.
family. Well, because it just, I think it, you know, I don't need to deal with their opinions about what I'm sharing, like, and not even what I'm sharing, how I'm sharing it. But why are you? I even had someone say, "Why is Lorraine posting unflattering pictures of herself?" When I was trying to show, that I also struggle sometimes with, oh, my aging skin or whatever, and
And
I
of
posted
course,
a
we all
picture,
have
and
that.
yeah,
That
but
was
I
one of my
posted.
favorite things you did
Oh man. Well, I
because I
got
think you're
flack
so
from
perfect.
family because they're, oh hell no. Well, of course not. And then so I posted the downward dog picture and my, skin sagging and everything. And then family members are like, why is Lorraine posting those unflattering pictures? And I'm like,
So
okay,
block
let's
from the
block.
story.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like I don't care what they see, but they're not gonna get it. And I've
No,
always
they're
said,
not
as a
going to get
person who's always been a creative and worked, thankfully, being in some way being creative, I realized relatively early on that my family was not my audience,
it.
and that I don't need their approval,
You have
and
to
that it
accept
doesn't
that.
matter what they think. But there are other people who are still like, what's my family going to think about this? What
Yeah.
would you say to those older
Ugh,
people,
it's
maybe, or
so
younger
hard.
people?
I think we have to accept this, that even though we can say, I don't care what they think, I don't care what they think, we are humans who
Yeah.
care what people
Hmm.
think. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just part of the fact. What we have to do with that is say, I care, and I'm bummed that that person feels that way, but I am going to stay true to me, and I'm going to keep going. So putting blinders on, how you said that's key to it, because we can't honestly say we don't care. Can you honestly
Mm-mm.
say you don't care?
No,
I don't
no,
think so. We're
no.
caring people. We do care. So even though this one person, I mean, said that to me, and I was like, I don't care what she has to da 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 da. And when
Yeah,
but the fact is, I care because it's still on my mind.
yeah.
If I didn't care, I wouldn't even talk about it. I wouldn't even give a shit about it. But
Exactly.
you know what I mean? But I do care. I just choose to not let it affect how I live my life. Okay.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
it's like you can hear it, you can accept it, you can take it in and let it take over, or you can choose not to. And I choose not to. And I've had a few people in my business that were like, oh, you're a TV director. Why are you posting these ridiculous dancing videos or baking? I was like,
Oh God.
oh, well, they don't
Oh,
get it. And I just
right,
moved
right.
on. And I think, in the long run, who's laughing now? You know, what I mean?
Yeah, Yes,
I don't know.
I absolutely agree. The last thing I'm going to ask you is about trolls. Like, do you get them? How do you personally deal with them?
Okay. And on a good note, I think my content doesn't really invite trolls because
Right.
people are like, if they see I'm trying to teach something, they don't even stick around. But on
That's a good point.
it's crazy. I think
Yeah.
on a rare occasion, I'll get someone that will say
Yeah.
something like this that makes me laugh so hard.
Oh God.
Oh, old retired lady with nothing better to do. And I'm laughing because I'm like, this person had a clue what my day-to-day life was.
Right.
So those kind of things I get, like people that make assumptions about you without knowing anything.
Yeah.
And I just want to almost say, like, read my profile because it says right up there that what I do. But people don't, they just want to be mean. So on occasion, when they're really, really mean, I'll block them. But it's like somebody
Right.
like that, I'm like, let me show up again in his feed and he could see how not retired I am when I'm at work at a shoot or whatever. I just feel like you choose how you react to that. I never respond to them. I never use them as
Right.
an
That's
example in a
good.
reply. No thanks. Too much attention is going their way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I choose to not let them get to me. And sometimes it's hard, it
It
is.
is. Oh,
I
I
just,
do. I have used them as examples, and that was actually it's increased my views, which is
that's so funny.
terrible to say. But when someone said to me, "Oh, you do look your age and way older too," or something,
Oh,
then or stuff like that, or somebody will say, "My pet peeve is because I am an advocate for, not that I feel." Well, that just that I'm 59 and I'm vocal about it and that I'm not dead and that, even if you're sick, you can keep going and all this stuff. But it's more like, well, wait till you get to my age. And I've been hearing that since I
oh,
was
I hate
20,
that.
right?
I
It's like,
hate
but
that.
but I've heard that since I was 20.
Yes.
And then people who were 30 would say, well, wait till you get to 30. I'm like, wait for what? And
No,
I'm still waiting,
I know,
you
because it
know.
always gets better, don't you think?
But it's like, but they could say, well, look, you got cancer, but so what? You could have gotten it at 40. It's not an age thing. And again, it's about how you deal with it.
Yes.
So
Oh
I
my
I
gosh.
sometimes it bothers me, and sometimes, I mean, what one thing I feel though is that I don't know that I would have been so resilient in dealing with
Wow,
these
yes.
people when I was younger.
Yes,
So I don't know how
experience
young people
it's
do it, because now I'm
experience
like,
does help.
but
Yes.
but when
Yes.
you're 20 years old, hearing bad things about you, or not bad, but things that are meant to be hurtful, I think it was harder back then.
Yeah,
How is your cancer doing?
my cancer's good. I had my final scans on Friday, and now on
Oh, you
tomorrow
did
I'll
say.
be getting the results. I feel very confident that it's gone because I'm starting to already feel back to myself slowly
Yes.
but surely. But it is funny; it does do interesting things to your psyche because
Yeah.
I went looking back now that I'm starting to get clear-headed, I realized, man, I was living in a fog for the last 4 months, 5 months. I didn't even realize because I just kept going. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, this is not gonna, I chose not to let it take me down. But I look back now and I think, oh my God, how did I do that? I did like a 7-day shoot in a row with 3 interviews per day with talent. I don't know. And I had more energy than some of the crew guys that were, the junior people. But now I look back and I was like, how did I do that? Man, I must have been going on adrenaline alone. But yeah,
Oh
it's
my
gonna
goodness.
be fine. I'm going on to the next chapter and I'm gonna put this behind me. I'm gonna make a documentary about it actually, about how my
Oh,
cancer played out on social media. That's how I'm going.
oh my goodness.
That's what the angle is gonna be.
I am going to, of course, watch it, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge, huge fan of yours.
This
Any
was
parting
awesome,
words?
Lorraine.
Any parting words for anybody who might about
I
anything?
I think that if I'm speaking to, let's say, someone who's just starting out and interested in social media but afraid to take the leap, I think that you don't have to feel pressured by how other people do it. You just can put your own self, what makes you feel comfortable, and just have fun. Because don't think of it like, oh, if I share this, I'm going to be judged. No, just share what you feel like sharing, be who you want to be, and show people, because there's so many older people that are hiding. So there's not enough of us out there to
Exactly.
normalize aging. I think this whole idea of we put ourselves out there. When you put that post that you mentioned before, and I was like, oh, bless her. Like, let's normalize that it's not terrible to get old. We're
Yeah.
excited to have the experience and to be able to have the confidence that I would never be able to walk into. Even something like this, I would be thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? Should I have a list ahead of time? Maybe give me
Yeah, yeah, when we're young, but then when you're
not
older, you're like,
now I'm
whatever.
like, let's do it.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, that getting older is not. how would I say this? It's interesting that I had an eating disorder. I was very messed up when I was young. And I am just not going to let even just like, injuries or sagging skin or what have you, I see it. I don't always think, oh my God, it's so great to have this.
Right.
No, but
No, it
but
sucks.
I'm not going to let it,
Right.
allow me not to go out to have dinner or not to talk to you
Absolutely.
because I think I'm having a bad day or who knows,
And
and
listen, I look at myself when I make the tutorials. I'm like, oh my God, should I go get Botox, this, that, and the other thing?
oh
And then
goodness.
I say to myself, you know what? I just want to not be that person that's overthinking it, because I'm the one that's
Right, right.
like that. And other people
Yeah.
are probably like, oh, great, look at her. She has
Yeah,
pores.
nobody's looking at that.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I do publicize that I do beauty treatments, but at the same time, it's like I support people who do, who don't, whoever wants to do this or do that or do nothing. It's
Yes.
good.
It's okay.
Goodness
Whatever you want to
gracious.
do, whatever
Yeah,
you want to do. I love it. I love that you're so real, and
well, so
as
are
an
you.
influencer for you to be, but it's difficult because the influencers that we know, the younger influencers that are trying to be perfect and only showing their perfect side. What I love the most is that we see the whole you. And for
Yeah.
that, I thank you, because you're
Well,
such a,
thank
you're
you.
such an example and an inspiration. And it's so good that we're
Thank you.
connecting. I
Well, it's
feel
mutual, and I think that's why we're talking now. So.
amazing. Thank you.
Well, go see Helen. Go see
Sure.
Helen Polise, not police, at the mothership, which will be down in the notes.
Yes,
And
and
we'll have this article
come
and
over and
everything.
come over to hellosocialize.com and sign up for free and watch workshops and tutorials and join us in joy. That's what we're doing over there. So much fun.
Thank you, Helen.
You're
It's
awesome.
been a joy. Now.